So this is factors of production for economics, and we're going to go through this PowerPoint so you can understand it a little bit better. Here we go. Factors of production. There are three main factors for making any product. Economics is the study about how we satisfy our needs and wants with the resources that we have. And there's three types of resources used to make any product, from a pencil to a table to an iPhone. So the three main factors of production are natural resources, land, water, and raw materials. And we've talked about natural resources before. Capital resources is something new. That has to do with money and the supplies, the factories, the equipment, the tools necessary to make something. And then we have human resources, which is self-explanatory. Humans are people. So the people that are necessary for making a product, maybe that would be the person that cuts down the trees, the person that drives the truck, the person that works at the store, the person that works in a factory, the person that sells it to you. So three kinds of production, factors of production: natural resources, capital resources, and human resources. And I have posted the videos to your Google Classroom. There's a little link right here to play. It'll be on your Google Classroom so that you can play that. Natural resources. We have talked about natural resources before when we've studied geography. Natural resources are things that occur in nature. They're natural. They come from the earth. And we use natural resources for everything that we have, for food, water, and shelter. Natural resources can be renewable and they can be non-renewable. Renewable means that they can be replaced. Anything that's renewable is usually plants and animals, anything that we can plant or raise to make new again. And non-renewable, of course, is you can't make it again. Once you use it up from the earth, that's it. All the gold that we have in the earth is already in the earth. We can't just make new gold. So that would be considered non-renewable. It's important not to waste natural resources because then we run out of the things that we need to make our needs and our wants in economics. So there's a picture down at the bottom of this PowerPoint, and you can kind of test yourself to see if you know if it's a renewable resource or a non-renewable resource. The first one is a tree. That, of course, would be renewable. You can plant trees and grow new trees. Bananas, that would be renewable because you can plant bananas and grow them. Water, now that's a tricky one because you can't plant it or grow it, but we do have something with water, with the water cycle that recycles water. So it's not really renewable or non-renewable. It's kind of in its own category of recyclable. Oil. Oil comes from the earth. It's a natural resource, but it is non-renewable. You can't plant oil and make new oil. Corn is, of course, renewable. You can plant corn. Aluminum. Aluminum is a metal that comes from the earth. It is not renewable. All the aluminum we can't grow it. How about meat? Tricky. Meat comes from cows. Well, steak comes from cows. Beef comes from cows, and we can grow more cows. We won't talk about how that works today. Sun. The sun is a weird one too because it's not renewable or renewable. It's just, it exists. I guess it's technically not renewable because someday it's going to explode and we're not going to have an earth anymore, but that's going to be in a really, really, really long time. So for right now, you can consider it renewable because every day it comes up and we can use it for solar power. So it's renewable resource. Fish, renewable. Fish make a new fish, and so they're reproducible. Gold, not renewable. Wind, renewable. Apples, we grow apples, so it's renewable. Gas comes from oil, so it's not renewable. Pork, pigs are growable. They can make new pigs, so that is renewable. And of course, coal comes from the earth. We use it to burn for fuel. It is non-renewable. You can't grow new coal. So now let's talk about human resources. Human resources are the people who do work and contribute to the economy. The work that people do is called labor. So in economics, when we talk about labor, we're talking about the work people do. And when we talk about a group of workers, we're talking about what's called a labor force, the whole group of laborers that work to contribute to the economy. Manual labor has to do with working with your hands. So if you know someone that works in construction, you know someone that works as a plumber or an electrician, they have special skills that they work with their hands. Sometimes manual labor is very difficult because it's hard on your body, it's physical. So a landscaper would be something called manual labor. Anything that you're doing that's hard work is manual labor. Specialization. We talked before about how education is power, and the more skills you have, the better education you have. And the more skills you have, the more marketable you are. And that means that you can do skills that other people can't. So people will be willing to pay you more money for those skills. So specialization refers to when a worker has special training or skills to do their job. It's usually a job that not everyone can do. You actually have to be specially trained for it. Wages is the economic word for payment for work done. So when you're a worker, when you're a laborer, you get paid wages. You get paid sometimes a salary, sometimes you get paid a minimum wage, which is an hourly wage. That's the minimum amount the government can pay you or a company can pay you for working. So the government does make a law that says we can't let people work for $2.01 an hour because you couldn't possibly live on that. So we have a minimum wage that the government requires you to at least get paid. So wages is the payment you get for your work. And sometimes you get a salary, which is a yearly salary. And sometimes you get paid wages, which are an hourly wage. Minimum wage is the minimum you can get paid by a company. Division of labor. Let's look at the word. Division means to divide up, and labor means work. So division of labor is when you divide up the work. So it helps to produce things in a faster manner when lots of people have one task to do and you're not making the whole product yourself. So if you're assembling a car, for instance, you have one person that is in charge of putting the wheels on the car. You have another person in charge of putting the steering wheel on. You have another person bolting in the doors. You have another person that's in charge of putting the glass in the windows. You have another person working to put in the radio. So since each person has a specialized job, they divide up the work, and then they can build a car a lot faster when they do it separately instead of one person making the car from the beginning all the way to the end. That would be too many skills for one person to have. So the division of labor helps to make things faster. Now, there's going to be 2 videos on your Google Classroom. I'm going to put links for you to watch 2 videos about division of labor. One is cool. It's a football factory, so it'll show you how a football is made. And another one just explains how it's faster to do your work when you divide it up with multiple people. Capital resources. Capital resources are all the tools and factories and equipment and money and supplies that you need to build something. So let's say that we were going to make a pencil. A pencil would be made, the natural resources that would be in a pencil, not this pencil because this is mechanical, so it's a bad example and I don't have a wooden pencil. So let's imagine a wooden pencil. The natural resources that would be used in that pencil would be wood, cut down from trees. It would be lead, which is an element we get from the earth. Rubber for the eraser is made from rubber trees, so that's a natural resource. The metal on the eraser would also come from the earth. It's a metal. So those would be the natural resources. The human resources to make a pencil, a wooden pencil, would be, for instance, the worker who cut down the tree, the worker who worked at the factory and sliced up the tree and made it into a pulp, the worker who created the eraser, the worker that runs the factory, the worker that runs the machine that makes the pencil, the secretary that sends emails to the workers at the factory, the person who drives the truck to get the pencil to Staples, the person who works at the store to sell you the pencil. Those would all be human resources. But the capital resources would be, it takes money to make a product, and it takes a factory to make a product, and it takes machinery to make a product, and tools and equipment and computers. Those things are called capital resources. They're the things that aren't natural, and they're not people or human resources. They're everything else, the technology that it takes to make an object. So capital resources, money, factories, and tools, things like that. We may get to those tomorrow. We may not. I'll come back. So let's just take a look at a book. A book, the 3 factors to make a book. Now we know that a book has several components to it. The natural resources that would go into a book would be the trees for the paper, the ink from the printing, and the cotton. Sometimes when you have a hard copy, it's stitched, the cotton binding or the string or the glue that goes into the spine of the book. Those are all natural resources that come from the earth. The human resources that would be involved in making a book would be things like the author that wrote the book. That's a human resource. The person who published the book or paid for the book to get made, the company. The workers that worked at the paper mill to make sure that the trees became paper, the book factory workers, the truck driver that drives the books to the store, the bookstore workers, all of those people would be human resources in making a book. The capital resources would be the computer of the author that wrote the book. That would be a capital resource, or the building where the book was published, or the truck that the logs were brought to the factory, the mills and the machines that make the actual paper, an actual book, the trucks that the driver drives to get the books to the store. The actual bookstore, the building, would be a capital resource, and so would the cash registers. When the cashier is checking you out for you to purchase your book, that would be a capital resource. So those are 3 resources: natural, human, and capital, all to make a book. You will need to do an exit slip at some point to tell me the resources necessary to make an axe. So you can see what an axe looks like right here. You're going to have to list 2 natural resources, 2 capital resources, and 2 human resources. That will be coming at some point. Be ready. All right. The next thing is, once we make a product, we have to get it to where it's going. So the act of making a product is called production. That's the way that goods and services are made. We produce goods and services to be part of our economy. The act of making it is production. Remember, the people that make it are called producers. Distribution is when we take the product and we get it from one place to another. It needs to be from the factory to the consumer, the one who's buying it. So it needs to be distributed. And we distribute goods on trucks and on boats and on planes, all sorts of different ways that we move products around the earth. Consumption is the consumer. Remember what the consumer is? That's the buyer. So consumption is the act of buying goods and services. Production is the making of goods and services. Distribution is the movement of goods and services. And consumption is the buying of goods and services. Now, here are the things you're going to need to know for your quiz. What are the 3 factors of production? What are natural resources, and give 2 examples? What are human resources, and give 2 examples? Capital resources, and give 2 examples. Specialization, division of labor. What are wages, minimum wage, renewable resources, and give an example, non-renewable resources, and give an example. What is production, what is distribution, and what is consumption? So that is the end of the PowerPoint, and you can go back and watch this video as many times as you'd like. Don't forget to go to Google Classroom and watch the three videos that I post for you from this PowerPoint, so you'll be an expert. Okay? Looking forward to it. You have a quiz coming up, so be ready for that. Thanks for watching.